Night was silent, but something felt wrong. A faint shadow moved outside the window, too quick to be certain if it was real. The clock ticked loudly as if counting down to something unknown. Suddenly the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. The sound of slow, deliberate footsteps echoed in the hallway. Someone, or something, was out there. The door handle rattled softly, then stopped. Holding their breath, they knew this was just the beginning of something they couldn't escape. Let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more suspenseful tales. Nathan Brooks, a confident and wealthy CEO, walked into the Grand Hotel lobby, his polished black shoes clicking on the shiny marble floor. The chandelier above sparkled like 1,000 tiny stars. This hotel was his favorite escape. Plush suites, room service that knew his every wish, and a view of the city that felt like a scene from a dream. He adjusted his crisp navy blue suit as he made his way to the front desk. The receptionist smiled warmly. "Good evening, Mr. Brooks. Welcome back." "Thank you," Nathan replied with a nod. He picked up his room key and headed for the elevators. Nathan loved this hotel because it was his sanctuary, a place to leave the stress of board meetings and business deals behind. As the elevator climbed to the top floor, Nathan sighed and thought to himself, finally, some peace and quiet. But that peace was short-lived. Just as he exited the elevator and turned toward his suite, he froze. His sharp green eyes landed on a woman stepping out of another room down the hallway. Her honey-colored hair caught the soft light, and Nathan's heart skipped a beat. He knew that face all too well. It was Lauren. Lauren Brooks. Well, Lauren Pierce now. She had been his wife once, years ago, before their paths split in different directions. She hadn't changed much, still graceful and radiant, but there was something different about her now. Nathan's breath caught when he noticed the boy beside her. The child, no older than 5, clung to her hand. His curly dark hair and bright, curious eyes looked oddly familiar. Lauren was saying something to the boy, her voice soft and sweet. Nathan couldn't move. His feet seemed glued to the carpet. Who was that child? Why did he seem like someone Nathan should know? As if sensing his stare, Lauren looked up. Their eyes met, and her face turned pale. The boy tugged at her hand. "Mom, who's that man?" he asked, his voice innocent and clear. Lauren hesitated. Nathan could feel the question hanging in the air. Unspoken, heavy, and impossible to ignore. He took a step forward, his heart pounding. "Lauren, is this your son?" Her lips parted as if she was about to answer, but no words came out. The boy looked between them, his small hand gripping hers tightly. Nathan's mind raced with 100 questions. How could this be? Who was the boy's father? And why had Lauren looked so startled to see him? Lauren finally broke the silence. "Nathan, this isn't the time or place." Her voice wavered, but there was steel in her tone. Nathan wasn't about to let her walk away. Not this time. "Lauren, we need to talk," he said, his voice firm but low enough not to attract attention from other guests. The boy glanced at Lauren with wide eyes. "Mommy, do you know him?" Lauren squeezed his hand and gave a small, nervous smile. "I'll explain later, sweetie. Come on, let's go." Nathan's chest tightened as he watched them retreat down the hall. He wasn't sure what to feel. Shock, confusion, or something deeper. As the door to her suite clicked shut, Nathan stood there, his mind buzzing like a storm. He didn't know what secrets Lauren was hiding, but one thing was certain. He wasn't going to leave without answers. Nathan stood in the silent hallway for a moment longer, his fists clenching and unclenching as he tried to make sense of what had just happened. His heart was still racing, and a growing swirl of emotions bubbled within him: confusion, frustration, and a strange pang of something he didn't want to name. He paced back and forth, the soft carpet muffling his hurried steps. Finally, he decided he couldn't just let it end there. Lauren owed him an explanation, and he wasn't leaving this hotel without answers. He turned sharply on his heel and marched back toward her door. Standing in front of it, he hesitated for a split second before knocking firmly. For a few moments there was silence. Nathan wondered if Lauren was deliberately ignoring him or just trying to figure out what to do next. Just as he raised his hand to knock again, the door creaked open slightly. Lauren peeked out, her expression guarded. "Nathan, I told you, this isn't the time," she said in a hushed voice. Her eyes darted back into the room, where the sound of the boy's soft giggles could be heard. "And I told you we need to talk," Nathan replied, keeping his voice low but firm. "I'm not here to make a scene, Lauren, but I can't just walk away from this." Lauren sighed and stepped out into the hallway, pulling the door closed behind her. She crossed her arms and looked at Nathan, her lips pressed tightly together as if she were trying to hold back words. Nathan noticed the way her hands trembled slightly, and it caught him off guard. Lauren was always a composed one, the person who seemed unshakable even in the toughest situations. "What do you want to know?" she asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan raised an eyebrow, his frustration breaking through. "You know what I want to know, Lauren. Who is that boy? Is he—" He stopped himself before finishing the question, afraid of where it might lead. Lauren's eyes flickered with something he couldn't quite read. Guilt, maybe, or hesitation. She glanced down at the floor, her blonde hair falling forward to hide her face. "Nathan, this is complicated." "Then make it simple," Nathan said, his voice softening just a fraction. "I'm just asking for the truth." Before Lauren could respond, the door behind her suddenly swung open. The boy peeked out, his face lighting up when he saw Lauren. "Mommy, who are you talking to?" he asked innocently, his small voice filled with curiosity. Lauren turned quickly and crouched down to the boy's level. "Sweetie, I need you to go back inside and play with your toys, okay? I'll be there in just a minute." "But Mommy, I want to know who that man is," the boy insisted, his big eyes shifting to Nathan. The look he gave Nathan made Nathan's chest tighten. It was like looking into a mirror of his younger self. Lauren placed her hands gently on the boy's shoulders. "Please, just go inside for a little while," she said firmly but kindly. The boy pouted but eventually nodded and went back into the room. Lauren stood up and turned back to Nathan, her face pale. "I'm not having this conversation in a hallway," she said, her tone more serious now. "Meet me downstairs in the lounge in half an hour." Without giving Nathan a chance to reply, she stepped back into her room and closed the door firmly. Nathan stood there for a moment, staring at the door. He had 1,000 questions swirling in his mind, but for now, he had no choice but to wait. He made his way to the lounge, his thoughts racing. He couldn't shake the feeling that this night was about to change his life in ways he wasn't prepared for. Nathan sat in the lounge, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The space was dimly lit, with soft music playing in the background, but he barely noticed any of it. His eyes drifted to the large windows overlooking the city. Lights twinkled in the distance, but they offered no comfort. He couldn't stop replaying the scene in the hallway. The way Lauren had looked at him, the boy's curious eyes and the heavy weight of unanswered questions. A waiter approached with a polite smile. "Anything I can get you, sir?" "Just a coffee," Nathan replied, his voice distant. He wasn't sure caffeine would help, but he needed something to steady himself. Minutes felt like hours as he waited. He drummed his fingers on the table, glanced at his watch, and then back toward the entrance. Finally, he saw Lauren walk in. She was wearing a simple white blouse and dark jeans, but she still carried herself with the same quiet elegance he remembered. Her face looked calmer now, but Nathan knew her well enough to see the tension hiding in her eyes. She walked over to the table and sat across from him. For a moment, they just looked at each other, the silence heavy between them. "You didn't have to come," she said softly, folding her hands on the table. "You didn't have to leave me with a million questions," Nathan countered, his tone firm but not harsh. He wasn't here to argue, but he also wasn't going to tiptoe around the truth. Lauren let out a small sigh and glanced down. "I guess I owe you an explanation." Nathan leaned forward slightly. "You think?" She looked up at him, her expression serious. "His name is Evan. He's 5 years old." Nathan felt his chest tighten again. "And? And he's my son," Lauren said. Her voice was steady, but her hands fidgeted in her lap. Nathan's throat went dry. He tried to speak, but no words came out. He looked at her, searching her face for any sign of what she was thinking, what she wasn't saying. Lauren continued, her tone gentle but firm. "I know what you're thinking, Nathan. And no, he's not." Before she could finish, the waiter returned with Nathan's coffee. Lauren fell silent, waiting as the cup was placed on the table. Nathan barely acknowledged the waiter's presence, his focus entirely on Lauren. When they were alone again, Nathan finally found his voice. "Then who is his father?" Lauren hesitated. She looked away for a moment, her fingers tightening around each other. "It's complicated," she said finally. Nathan felt a surge of frustration. "Lauren, you keep saying that. What does that even mean? Is it someone I know? Someone from when we were still together?" She shook her head quickly. "No, Nathan, it's not like that. I just, I can't explain everything right now. Not here." Nathan leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. "Then when, Lauren? How long do you expect me to wait for answers?" Lauren looked at him, her expression softening. "Nathan, I didn't expect to see you here. I wasn't prepared for this. Just give me some time. Please." Nathan stared at her, his emotions a mix of anger, sadness, and something he couldn't quite name. Finally, he sighed. "Fine, I'll give you time. But not forever. I need to know the truth, Lauren." She nodded, her eyes filled with something that looked like gratitude. "Thank you." As Lauren stood to leave, Nathan watched her go, 1,000 questions still swirling in his mind. He didn't know where this was headed, but he knew one thing for certain. This was far from over. Nathan sat alone in the lounge for what felt like hours, even though only minutes had passed since Lauren left. The untouched coffee in front of him had gone cold, but he didn't notice. His mind was tangled with thoughts, memories of the life he and Lauren once shared, the unexpected encounter tonight, and the little boy who had sparked so many unanswered questions. As the city lights flickered outside the hotel windows, Nathan couldn't help but replay Lauren's words in his mind. "His name is Evan. He's 5 years old." The weight of those words pressed down on him like a heavy stone. 5 years. That timeline overlapped with when their marriage had fallen apart. He couldn't help but wonder if there was something she hadn't told him back then. Standing up abruptly, Nathan pushed his chair back and walked toward the large windows. He needed to think clearly. If Evan wasn't his son, then who was the father? And why was Lauren being so secretive about it? She'd always been honest and straightforward, even in their hardest moments. This sudden guardedness wasn't like her. Nathan rubbed his temples and sighed. He had to tread carefully. Pressuring Lauren too much could push her further away, and he wasn't ready to lose the chance to get to the truth. Just then, a soft chime from his phone interrupted his thoughts. It was a text message. He pulled it out of his pocket and saw a message from an unknown number. "Meet me on the rooftop garden. We can talk there." Lauren. Nathan stared at the screen for a moment before tucking the phone back into his pocket. He straightened his tie and headed for the elevators. The rooftop garden was one of the hotel's most exclusive spots, a quiet place away from the bustling city below. If Lauren wanted to meet there, it meant she wanted privacy, perhaps to tell him what she couldn't earlier. As the elevator doors opened to the rooftop, a gentle breeze greeted Nathan. The space was serene, with soft lighting and lush greenery creating a peaceful escape from the world below. Lauren stood near the edge, leaning slightly against the railing. She looked up when she heard his footsteps. "I thought you might not come," she said, her voice carrying a hint of relief. "I said I wanted the truth," Nathan replied, walking closer but stopping a few steps away. "And I meant it." Lauren nodded, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. She seemed calmer now, but there was still a shadow of hesitation in her eyes. "Nathan, before I say anything else, I need you to promise me something." He frowned slightly. "What kind of promise?" "Promise me you won't judge," Lauren said quietly. "Not until you've heard everything." Nathan studied her for a moment before nodding. "All right, I promise." Lauren took a deep breath, as though summoning the courage to speak. She turned to face him fully, her hands gripping the railing behind her. "After we separated, I went through a really hard time. You know that. But there's something I didn't tell you." Nathan said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "I left because I thought it was best for both of us," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "But I wasn't alone for long. I met someone who helped me through those dark days. Evan is his son." Nathan's jaw tightened, but he kept his promise and didn't interrupt. He could see the pain in Lauren's eyes, the way her shoulders tensed as if she were bracing herself for his reaction. "But things didn't work out," Lauren added quickly. "Evan's father, he wasn't the person I thought he was. He left when Evan was just a baby. Since then, it's just been me and him." Nathan's heart softened at her words, but a lingering question gnawed at him. "Lauren, why didn't you tell me any of this before? Why keep it a secret?" Her eyes glistened as she looked at him. "Because I didn't think it mattered anymore. I thought you'd moved on, Nathan. I didn't want to complicate your life." Nathan stepped closer, his voice low but firm. "Lauren, I may have moved on from our marriage, but that doesn't mean I stopped caring about you. You should have told me." Lauren wiped at the corner of her eye and nodded. "I know. You're right. And I'm sorry." The two of them stood in silence for a moment, the distant hum of the city filling the air. Nathan wasn't sure what to say next, but he knew one thing. This wasn't the end of the conversation. There was still more to uncover, more truths to face. Nathan stared at Lauren, her words lingering in the quiet air around them. He could see the weight she carried, the years of trying to hold everything together on her own. For the first time in a long time, he felt something stir inside him, not anger or frustration, but understanding. "Lauren," he said finally, his voice softer now, You don't have to do this alone. I don't know where we stand, and I don't know where this will lead, but I can see how much Evan means to you, and I can see how much you've been through. Lauren looked at him, her eyes glistening under the rooftop lights. Nathan, I've been so scared of letting you back into my life. I didn't know if I could trust you or if it would even be fair to you. Nathan took a step closer, his gaze steady. Life isn't about fairness, Lauren. It's messy and complicated, and we don't get to write the perfect script. But if there's one thing I've learned tonight, it's that I can't walk away from this. Lauren swallowed hard, a small, tentative smile appearing on her lips. Evan's a good kid, Nathan. He's my whole world. And maybe, Nathan said, his voice filled with quiet determination, it's time I got to know that world. For the first time in years, the silence between them didn't feel heavy. It felt like a beginning, a chance to rewrite the story they thought had ended. Together, they stepped back toward the elevator, ready to face whatever came next, one step at a time.